Good morning. Good Sunday morning. I am cutting up some cucumbers and putting them in my picadillo. I'm going to be putting some vinegar in it. So I thought I'd take a moment and do my Sunday rant. And I want to start off by saying I've known a lot of people that worked for unions. And not all union people were bad by any means. But I want to tell you about my personal experience with unions as a truck driver. And the two unions that I've experienced are Teamsters and United Auto Workers. And I have absolutely nothing good to say about UAW. I hauled auto parts for years. And if you want to know why cars cost so much, go into an auto building factory and see how those people work and the amount of breaks they get and how one person is not willing to do 1 ounce more than what he's paid to do. If there's a guy who's in charge of replacing widgets and something that's not a widget comes down there and he can help the next guy out by removing the thing that's not a widget and throwing it away, he ain't gonna do it because it ain't his job. I picked up and delivered auto parts to mostly GM, but some Ford. And the difference is, as a non-union truck driver, you were automatically treated like scum. As a matter of fact, they would call you scab because you chose to not be a member of a union. There were trucking companies that were union, and they got treated much better by the other union people. And I was an owner-operator, so there's no owner-operators, truck drivers union. Even if I wanted to be a union man, I couldn't have been. So, hold on, let me see if this is gonna... So, after a few years of dealing with auto unions, I swore no more. I didn't do that. No more. I never, from that point on, I wouldn't pick up at union shops and I wouldn't deliver to union shops. And before I took a load, I would ask the broker, is this a union shop or not? And if they didn't know, I would call them before I'd take the load, and I would ask them, are y'all union? Do you have union workers? And if they did, I'd turn the load down. And here's why. You would load at a non-union shop, and it would take 2 hours. People were glad to see you. They would handle your paperwork in a timely fashion. They were decent to you. And you would load the same load at a union shop, and it was abusive from the moment you got there. What normally would take 2 hours would take 8 or 9 or 10, or come back the next day. It was mind-boggling how anything gets done in a union shop. Again, I'm only talking about auto workers and Teamsters, because that's all the experience I've had. So I don't know about any other electrical workers unions, nothing like that, painters unions. I have no idea. I just know that I'm not a union guy. And the auto workers union was to me the straw on the camel's back. That finished it for me. Years before, I was a Teamster truck driver for about 6 months. And that was all I could take of being a Teamster. That was all I could take of being a union man. Part of my job, the company was similar to yellow freight. You just hauled freight of all kinds. In the morning you'd get there and you'd load your truck, you'd unload other trucks, you'd break the freight down into areas that it would go to, and then you would load that freight into trucks destined for that area. And man, it was more money than I ever made in my life. I'm talking about like 1980, it was like $23 an hour, which was just unheard of. And So I worked my ass off. I was happy to have the job, great benefits. But man, them people did not want you working hard. Uh, I was always been a big guy, and I've always been strong, and I could pick things up that other people couldn't. And I would pick things up and put them on my shoulder and load them in the truck, and it would make people mad. It would absolutely. I would get a lot of crap from people saying I was taking somebody's job by working that hard. And after 6 months of people telling me to slow down, drag my feet, I was taking somebody's job. I actually had people threaten me that they would come to my house if I didn't slow down. And that was my one try at being a union guy. And I couldn't do it. Never worked union again the rest of my life. And I think I was 21 back then when I was a teamster for that 6 months. So I have nothing but bad things to say about the unions that I have had experience with. And that's the Teamsters Union and the United Auto Workers. And I'm telling you, Teamsters was bad, but the Auto Workers Union, I had never seen such organized. It's not even organized, it's just chaos. And you have so many people absolutely determined not to do 1 ounce, not to put 1 ounce of effort more into their job than they are absolutely minimally required to do so in order to keep their job. And then you have, here's what I hate about unions. You have guys that are good workers and show up on time and do a good job and are proud of the work they do and are happy with a paycheck. And you have guys that couldn't function in any other walk of life except union because they're such terrible workers and they can't fire them. And those are the people that folks like me who have to deliver there have to deal with constantly. The people who hate their job, hate you because you don't hate your job. They want you to be as miserable as they are. And I'm sorry you have to look at me, but I'm doing stuff. And yeah, it left me with a terrible opinion of unions and union workers, I'm afraid. And now, it's been years since I've actually had to deal with that. And, my opinion is, well, there's one for the dogs. Hold on, let me give one to the, here you go. Here. There you go. So, yeah, I made a concerted effort after that. I made a concerted effort to not haul into or out of union shops, and I made a lot more money by not involving my truck and trailer in union freight. And to this day, every time I see a union truck on the highway, I just have to say to myself, being involved in that, it's just amazing how they get anything done. It's amazing how the company could be anywhere near profitable when you see how the people work or don't work. And it is a shame because you do have people that just want to do a good job and want to have a good job and want to get good pay. And the ones that screw it up are the ones that the union can't fire. And then there's the grievance, and I do the air quotes very infrequently. There's the grievance. I'm telling you, when I used to haul auto parts, it seemed like every other word, when they were having conversations with each other, every other word out of their mouth was about filing a grievance. And the joke was among us non-union people was that if the toilet paper in the bathroom chafed their butt, they would file a grievance. If the temperature wasn't perfect in the cafeteria, they would file a grievance. And it left me pretty disgusted with men who acted like bitchy little women. And sorry if you're a bitchy woman. I didn't mean anything bad. So, I guess that's my rant. I think a lot about my trucking days, and I tell you, trucking taught me so much about people. And you can learn so much about people just by watching how they work and how serious they take their job and how willing they are to be an asset instead of a liability. And there's two distinct classes of people, those that do and those that don't, those that will and those that won't. Those that care about their job, those that feel good about themselves when they do a good job, and those that don't. And, you know, those that don't couldn't care less how you feel. And those that don't want you to be happy at your job. They don't want you to get pride or a sense of pride from your work. They don't want you to be happy with your pay. They don't want you to be happy in any shape or form because they're not happy people. Trucking taught me that a lot. And you see that when people get a steering wheel in their hand. Angry people who are just mad at the world and nothing satisfies them, it comes out in the steering wheel. You can see by the way they drive that they're not happy people. And there's my rant. Have a good Sunday, y'all.
Only in America could you go somewhere where there's all-you-can-eat bacon. You don't know how hard it is for me not to touch this cake right now.